Hello. Have you signed the petition?
Not yet, no, because you know me, I'm not very technical at stuff like that. I was going to start differently, but it's your show, you do what you want.
Well, let me just reassure you that it's actually really easy, because I don't normally do these things either, but I thought this thing is getting ahead of steam, and I think we've all got to...
What needs to be done for the country to finally stand up and say, enough is enough, we can't take it anymore? Kay, it seems that a critical moment has come when the patience of the people is running out. More than 3 million people, full of anger and frustration, have signed a petition demanding a general election. Keir Starmer's leadership has turned into a real disaster, and society can no longer stand aside.
Let me be very clear. Those who seek to blame others are themselves the problem, and we will have zero patience or tolerance of that. This is also a moment to apologise once again to all those who were hurt, to all those who were let down, who no longer felt it was their home, who suffered the most appalling abuse. And I understand that some people won't like the changes that we've made. But I say this with all candour. If you don't like the changes that we've made, I say the door is open and you can leave.
Leading this powerful campaign was journalist Isabel Oakeshott, who openly criticized Starmer's thoughtless complacency. She did not mince words, stressing that even Nigel Farage, whom many consider a controversial figure, looks like a more suitable candidate for this role. Isabel left no doubt she is on the side of those who demand change, and her voice sounds like a call to action for everyone who is tired of inaction and incompetence.
I mean, just ridiculous. I mean, Nigel Farage is one of the most popular politicians in the country. That's why millions of people voted for him and his party at the last election. It's not their fault that the voting system doesn't reflect that in terms of the number of MPs. Nigel Farage is always going to be a much more exciting, interesting, dynamic, charismatic, bright, engaging, and yes, divisive figure than Keir Starmer. I mean, I know who I'd choose to have dinner with.
Let's find out what is going on in the UK and why there is real chaos there. Isabel Oakeshott doesn't just criticize Keir Starmer, she completely destroys his leadership. With her harsh and merciless comments, she leaves no stone unturned, calling him useless and accusing him of dragging the country towards the abyss. The Starmer government is just empty talk, with no action behind it. It is completely unable to cope with the most important problems facing the nation. Isabel vividly emphasizes that the UK needs real leadership, not inaction, and her anger reflects the feelings of millions who are desperate to wait for change.
I am absolutely with you and the millions of people who think this bloke is a disgrace. He has no plan, he has no conviction, he has no backbone. I don't buy this government at all. It makes me furious with the shambles that was the Tory party. But we cannot fall for the BS that the King is going to get involved. This is not going to change the government. Yes, it will absolutely, Isabel, say to this government, globally and at home, not very popular. It's not going to make any difference though, is it? Come on.
She stands on the side of disillusioned British citizens, defending their frantic demand for a leader who will not just speak, but also act, restoring shattered trust. Starmer, in her opinion, is only evading responsibility, leaving the country in a state of complete chaos and hopelessness. Her words resonate in the hearts of millions, reflecting the growing frustration of people who are tired of seeing a leader who seems disconnected from the reality of their daily suffering. Isabel has become their voice, boldly and openly speaking the truth, even if it causes a storm of discontent in Westminster. The petition demanding a general election has become a symbol of public discontent for those who can no longer tolerate it. It is not every day that millions of people unite around a single demand, especially in a politically divided country like the United Kingdom.
I'm not, Trump, there are many things about Trump I don't like, but he managed to grab that feeling, and that's what a lot of people are crying out for in this country, aren't they?
And it's absolutely there for the taking for a dynamic politician that is not really dislikable. And that's quite difficult, actually. I mean, almost any dynamic politician, any strident politician, any bold leader is actually also dislikable.
Of course, because they spend all the time trying to be all things to all people. The people like Thatcher and Blair didn't care. They had a plan, they had something set out, and they were going for it, whatever the response. Isn't that true leadership?
People feel that their voices have been in the shadows for too long, and now they are ready to take fate into their own hands. This petition is not just a protest against Keir Starmer. It is a powerful cry for taking back control of your life. She demonstrates the incredible power of united action, showing that everybody will get a chance to prove that they are worthy to live their best life. She demonstrates the incredible power of united action, showing that when enough people stand up for their rights, they cannot be ignored. How will the leader react to the demand of 3 million people for his resignation? His reaction to the petition was perceived as arrogant and dismissive, which caused a storm of anger among many Britons. Instead of taking the problem seriously, Starmer seems to have simply dismissed it as a minor inconvenience. Such a dismissive attitude not only alienated his critics, but also angered those who once supported him.
I understand people signing it. I understand the frustration. I'm more interested in saying the 44% of you that did not get your asses out to vote in the last general election are part of the reason we're in this mess. So for God's sake, join, as somebody said earlier, join a party or vote next time. I'm not against the petition, but vote, right? That's important.
Absolutely it is. I mean, if you didn't vote, you can't complain.
No.
And I suppose a lot of people will say, well, there was no point in voting in my constituency because, you know, this, that, the other. But you still got to try and make your voice heard in some way. And actually, where there have been millions of votes that didn't lead to parliamentary seats, that just opens another debate about the voting system. And you and I might disagree on that. And
by ridiculing those he is supposed to serve, Starmer has demonstrated complete indifference to the raging frustrations that have engulfed the entire country. His reaction only added fuel to the fire, and it became obvious why so many people consider him incapable of leading the country. There are about 47 million eligible voters in the UK, and more than 3 million of them have signed a petition. The thread of this depiction sounds familiar, but it's exactly like that. And this is why I decided to deal with it directly in my own way. For Starmer, this was supposed to be a moment of deep reflection. Isabel argues that even if this petition does not lead to elections, it will be a powerful signal that change is inevitable.
It is, and I think people are just desperate for it in our country. We haven't had those options on the table, have we, in recent elections? Of course, we don't have a presidential system, so people are not voting for a prime minister when they go into the polling booth. They're voting for their local MP. But it just doesn't feel like... I suppose with Boris, there was some excitement around him, if we're casting back a few years now. But it just doesn't feel as if there's been someone that everybody, or that a large number of people could rally around and that is selling some hope for our country, because everything's just so negative, isn't it? And, you know, I don't want to be negative all the time. I don't want to be constantly complaining about the direction our amazing country is going.
The government can't just turn a blind eye to this. Isabel is sure that this petition has finally caught Starmer's attention. Now he must understand that millions of people consider his leadership to be a failure and inactive. This is an alarming signal that society's patience is running out and it is ready for change. Although this petition alone will not lead to elections, it opens the door for discussion, for dialogue, which is so necessary at this difficult time. People are starting to openly question the legitimacy of the government, and it sounds like a loud call to action. Isabel believes that this is a critical moment when the UK is clearly defending itself against an increasingly large and clearly expressed its dissatisfaction with Starmer's inability. His unwillingness to deal with this situation only deepens the gap between the people and the government, creating a gap that is difficult to bridge. When it came to his reaction, Isabel didn't hold back her emotions. She accused him of arrogance and disrespect for those who chose him. Isabel argued that laughing at the petition is not just a frivolous attitude, it is a complete lack of respect for the millions of people who have put their hopes and dreams into these signatures. Her words struck a chord, reflecting the feelings of many people who feel betrayed and left to their fate.
It's just wrong, and I think if we had a referendum on it again now, I think that there would be a very significant majority for proportional representation, without a doubt. And people will have forgotten there was a referendum on this way back, I think it was 2011, very, very badly run by the proportional representation side of the argument. That would be totally different now.
I had an argument with somebody about this over the weekend, actually, and the problem with that is, and you know me, I'm all for it, and I want reform to be successful. Very difficult for us to kick back the whole time about not wanting another Brexit referendum when we're saying we'd like another one on proportional representation. But the truth of the matter is, however it works, you want the people's voice to be heard. But the truth of the matter is, more than anything, get out and vote. Isabel, my thing about the Labour Party is I think they have no plan. However, today, did you watch Liz Kendall, the Work and Pension Secretary, being interviewed by Trevor Phillips at the weekend on Sky?
Isabel's criticism breaks the chains of silence and demands accountability, which has been lost in UK politics for so long. Her furious words have made her a hero to those who feel ignored and abandoned. Nigel Farage is the name she puts forward as more suitable for the post of Prime Minister. Although this is controversial, she is convinced that Farage has the kind of grit that Britain needs at this difficult time. He is determined, unapologetic, and most importantly knows how to listen to people, hear their cries for help. Whether you love him or hate him, Isabel proves convincingly that he is at least ready to act, ready to change the situation. Britain desperately needs strong and visionary leadership that can lead the country from darkness to light. The country needs a person capable of solving serious problems, bringing people together and making difficult decisions. She sees Starmer as the exact opposite of that. She sees him as a symbol of mediocrity and inaction. What do you think about this video? Share your opinion in the comments, see you.